And I just wanted to share with a few of you. We had a really nice, yeah, Megan, the DQ DG is really nice. But we had a really nice engagement with one of our students. She approached us, I think about 2 weeks ago. I think so, maybe 2 weeks ago. And she had just failed her CDMP data management fundamentals. And I then asked her, what had she done? And she said she was doing a lot of self-study and going through the DMBOK. And she was a little bit disappointed because she's on one of those cohorts in an academy, and uh, she failed and a lot of the other people didn't fail. So she was quite urgent to, or quite keen to get this passed. So anyway, we helped her with our DIY course that Debbie was sharing, and she was very persistent. She did lots of her work. I was quite impressed. She managed to get all of those questions. She did all the 321, and she even gave us some more questions that she had tried and failed on in the previous attempt. And she wrote her exam on Monday, I think, Sunday, Monday, and she was able to get 85% on her fundamentals. So we really believe that DIY is helping people to reach that master level, which is really positive in terms of setting yourself up and building that career. So if any of you are interested, please shout and we'll help you out there. I know chatting to Paul, he certainly, it helped him a lot. Paul, anything from your side?
How's it, Howard? Yes,
Yeah.
can second that. I first round was some time back. I got 79% for the data fundamentals, and was too chicken to pull the trigger immediately after, even though Howard said, "Okay, sign up again and do it again." But anyway, I did it again, but followed. I was part of the guinea pig club. We did the DIY as a cohort to test out the product, and I actually didn't even. I shouldn't say this maybe live. I didn't follow the full process. I got frustrated with myself after 2 weeks, and after a glass of wine and dinner on a Friday night, I pulled the trigger and I got 89. So I'm bragging a little bit by telling you my mark, but it really was helpful. The process, the DIY. So I give it all kudos to the process, to that DIY. Yeah, cool.
Thanks. And just to share with everyone is that we desperately trying to get to the same level with DG and DQ, but it's certainly not as easy. And a lot of the times the questions are, you'll find a lot more of the master level questions, and they're a lot harder. Okay. Yes, Connie, for you, there's DIY quizzes and wine. We'll ship them to you. Megan, yes, the DG/DQ questions we've got a lot of master questions in that. Now, what you will find is that the DG/DQ quiz questions, Veronica and I developed a lot on our own, and they're not as close. They follow the same theme, but they're not as close as that of the fundamentals. All right, so I wanted to start with the last one, and I'm a little bit depressed from a point of view of, I have in the region of, I wonder if you can see there, but 372 slides. And I did say that I will provide you with these slides afterwards, but I feel like I haven't really been able to go through in the detail that I would have liked to. But that's the way it goes. And I was even wondering, because Paul came to me in the last week or so, and he just keeps on saying how powerful and how much focus this ROI value driven is getting. It's just about everyone he talks to. It's about this value driven approach. And what worries me is, if you can see here on my frameworks, in terms of the frameworks that I looked at, I'm just going to go back and I shared with you last week. I shared the EDM Council one. Okay. Now, these are the ones that I found, and basically every single time I go and look for new ones, there's somebody else that's come up with a new framework, and it's growing tremendously. I don't know how you people are finding it. I don't know if anyone's really looking at it, but this has certainly become a hot topic. Has anybody else been experiencing this where people really want to get to the situation of why we're doing it? Where's the monetization? Where's the value in everything we're doing? Anyone like to comment on that?
Well, maybe only me, Howard.
Yeah, maybe. Are you the only one? Are you finding the freak cases?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe no one wants to answer, but I really think that it's on everybody's mind. And some of these budgets, some of these tool spends are serious money, no matter which context you speak. And it's got to be on your mind, where especially the people that are evaluating business cases, all of that. When data architects are in those forums with business, committing to business to enable, it must be a topic. Must be. So yeah, challenge the others on the call, but yeah.
Okay, thanks, Paul. So the reason I wanted to bring it up was I was wondering if we would like to continue this series or maybe schedule it for another time. So depending on what your response is, I can look to see whether we should continue it at some time. We did say, and I wonder if Debbie's there, that decision intelligence is also really nice. That's the comment that Connie's making there. There's a really nice bit of work that's been done by Dr. Lauren Pratt, and she calls herself decision scientist. And a lot of that decision, they call it a causal decision diagram. And it basically looks at how do we improve the business decision making and improve the value that it gets. Connie, anything that you would like to share on that? I know you've gone through it, and we'd certainly like to get her to do a presentation. Debbie, if you're there, we should really make chance of trying to get her to speak.
I'm literally making a note of it right now. Did you say Dr. Pratt?
Dr. Lauren Pratt.
Lauren Pratt.
And I'll share with you the reference. But Connie offered to maybe, Connie, if you did make a suggestion, if we could get her to talk, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I can help with setting that up. I've not quite found the right means to let her know, but I'm attending her course at the moment, but she's not busy.
Okay.
So I'll reach out. Try a different means to reach out. Yeah, I'm totally sold to the decision intelligence.
Yeah. It's lovely. I mean, I really like that, and I've sort of done that one for our business in terms of saying what are the levers that we can that we are dependent on when it comes to specialist exams, and how do we respond to those levers. So it's everything from foreign exchange rates to an extent where people see that they get the CDMP fundamentals and then they're not sure whether they should go to the next one. So what is the value proposition of doing that? And so these are lots of different challenges that we have, and we don't not sure always where to get the data. But I really like her one comment, and that's basically saying, well, please, you must remember that at the moment people are making decisions based on complete gut feeling, or you know, that even just having some level of data is improving what you're making your decision based on. So very impressed. Okay, so here we are. We're on the last one of transforming your data office, and what I mean by that is to look at being vision and value driven about supporting our decisions, and that's where the comment on Dr. Lauren Pratt is. And so how do we focus and laser focus on the decisions that the business need to make and make sure that they are producing good decisions? this was one of the comments that we had, and I really like this thing as all data management and CDO people. We must mandate the data office ROI before it is mandated of us. And I'm going to share a little bit of that today as well in terms of our role. These were just discussions on tenure, and basically the question here is, why is the tenure of the CDO so low? Even though it's a new field, and I'm going to show you some statistics on that, why are we so far out of kilter with some of the other executives that are there? Okay, so these are the ones that we've been through: data office fundamentals. We've been through part of the data office transformation. I wanted to be a little bit more practical today. Someone came to me during the week saying, please, do you have some case studies of this for the retail environment? So I did some research on that, and I've got some data to show you. Then I wanted to show you some of the war stories in terms of where things are going wrong with data management programs at the moment. And then again, let's come back to the CDO, and how does the CDO create value? How do they go about creating value within the organization? All right, so please, if you need to, please stop me and ask questions. So what I wanted to do was, just before getting onto the case studies, because some of the case studies and issues like that are saying to us, please make sure that you establish your way of work or your playbook or whatever it is. So I just want to touch on this very briefly in terms of the data valuation frameworks. And I just wanted to show you the one that we have developed. We call it using the DVD way. And basically the steps are: make sure you understand the business goals that you're working on. And I'm going to just see if I can highlight it, give you some volume around what we're talking about. And so there it is. Goal, understand what we are trying to achieve, align the value that we are doing. And whenever we produce value, how do we align it with the business, with IT, and with all the people that are all of them are presenting different strategies? How do we make sure we are going in the right direction? Defining the value. How do we quantify it? Remember, last week you spoke about direct approaches and indirect approaches. Finding the value. So how do we then, once we know how we're going to go about valuing a use case or a data initiative, how do we then find the value? By using use case initiatives, initiation. How do we go to the business? And then once we've chosen the value, how do we drive the value? And then how do we bake the value back into existing business products? So please, we must be careful of not just trying to build brand new data products. There's lots of benefit that we can give back to the business by bringing our data and our data analysis into existing products. It doesn't always have to be brand new. Okay. So this is our playbook that we use. I'm not going to go into details of it. There's a lot of details that you can get from the PowerPoint presentation. And again, if you'd like to have more detail, please come and talk to us about it. So here is the defining the goal. What is the business goal? What is your digital agenda? What is the data agenda, the data strategy, and what is the data management strategy? Now, I'm going to come back to this a little bit later. So if you're not sure exactly what that alignment means, please hold on. I'm getting there. Then we do the alignment, and then the definition of value. This is the difficult part, and it comes down to accounting treatment. So how is your accountant and your CFO going to do the accounting for data valuation? Okay. Please don't underestimate the effort that it's going to take to get the people to agree with you, or to come to some agreement on how this valuation is going to work. And that's typically after some of the failings and the fact that we don't have it defined in IFRS or in GARP. We don't have these principles. So we're pushing those boundaries. and we may be pushing the accountants a little bit out of their comfort zone. So you have to go easy on this one and go slow. And I always recommend that you try to get this right before you start building business cases and shouting about your ROI, because I've been involved with CFOs and they laugh at me when I mention those business cases. And they basically said, I don't know where you get the data for all of this stuff, but a lot of it's been sort of maybe too much pizza from the night before or other interesting intoxication, but they just don't see the data that justifies what we are suggesting. Then we've got find the value, drive, measure, and bake in the value. And these are all the steps. Now, please, what we do have and what will be coming out is for every single step that we have in the playbook, you need two things. You need what we refer to as the SIPOC and a scorecard. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit more detail there in terms of what I mean by that. So here is the framework that we have developed across several customers, and it follows the plan, do, check, act. Can you see that? So these are the steps that we have. So it's align the portfolio to the digital strategy. So this is the data management or the DMO portfolio. Align it to the business strategy, create an enterprise value map, agree on value realization accounting principles and value realization accounting treatment. Okay, then build a map of your use cases, understand your data product hierarchy. So you're going to have to do an inventory of existing data products, understand how there's a hierarchical structure to that and how it feeds into value. And then also be careful of ignoring your data management capabilities. Okay, please remember this because we're going to talk about some war stories. And I'm hoping you'll remember that, Howard said that I need to do a technical feasibility study. Okay, then we've got build a data asset value, build the data management value. This is what we refer to as the data office ROI. So please remember the difference. Data ROI, what value am I getting from my data assets? Data office ROI or data management value is what value am I getting out of my data office? Are we producing value or should they start again and find another one? Okay, are we getting the right outcomes? This is the checking. So once you've actually built the data products, have we got the right outcomes on those data products? And then we validate it. So measure the ROI. Please, it's not just in the beginning when I'm trying to justify the business case. It's almost on a quarterly basis where you're looking at the return on investment. Okay, and the more you measure it, the more trust that you develop, and you're starting to show people that you're monitoring the value that you're getting back, and you're getting tighter and tighter on your estimations as to what the value of this data initiative is going to be. Hopefully, you can just think to yourselves, if I'm going to have a data literacy ROI, where am I going to get data to say this is the economic benefit or value that I'm getting from my initiative? And then you may be able to say that, but who's going to believe you? Okay, that's probably one of the hardest things, especially within your organization. You may have lots of people in the industry agreeing with you, but does your organization agree with you? And then where you have, in some cases, we call it an indirect approach, and data literacy is one of those things. So basically what we're saying is, if I improve the data literacy, then my skills and capabilities are improved. That means we work more efficiently and effectively, and we work with the data better, so we get better ROI. But there's an indirect, right? I can't say data literacy is going to produce so much operating margin immediately. So we're going to go through an indirect approach. Okay, then we've got the ACT is connecting the data initiative to the business value proposition. How do we improve on that? And then connecting then the data initiative to the business value chain. And these are important points that you need to go through. Okay, so here is the documentation of what we call the SIPOC. Who remembers that SIPOC? Who remembers what SIPOC stands for? Or is it just me? Okay. I think it's maybe is just me, but I'm going to take a guess here. Paul, can you remember what a SIPOC stands for?
Suppliers, inputs, processes, outputs, and consumers.
Okay, fantastic. So every single time we document a procedure, we want to understand who is going to supply us with inputs, okay? What is the procedure? What is the output? And who's going to consume the output? Now, as I've said before, I like to start with the output. So I need to build a data strategy, or I need to improve my data literacy. What is the procedure to build the data strategy, or the procedure to build the data literacy program, and for who? And then I go into the next one, is who's going to supply me with the inputs, and what are the inputs that they're going to supply me? That's typically your AC diagram that you have on that. So nice template to use. And there's some really nice data quality issues around the SIPOC as well. Okay. All right. So let me just go back there. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go back because I'm not going to go through all of these different ones. So just bear with me. So now let's go to the case study by industry. Are there any questions in that framework? Is there anything someone would like to ask me before I go into an example or case studies of that? Okay. Not getting a lot of feedback today. All right, case studies. Let's look at the case studies. Now, this is something that I use for my awareness sessions. I must have in the region of 30 different slides here that talk about how does the telco industry benefit from ROI case studies. And one of the important things that I shared with you during this conversation was, what are the KPIs that a telco would need to look at? Very helpful in terms of what we call business literacy and understanding how the business measures its operations. How is the focus? How do we check that we're doing the right work? And there's all of those discussions on the one metric that matters and all of those different issues. So we need those KPIs. First and foremost, we need the KPI. All right. And so we get into cloud providers. What's the benefit to a cloud provider? Banking case studies, insurance, client for life. This was in the health sector. Then we've got the government sector, because we're doing so much work in this with the Saudi government. Lots of times we have to be able to explain to people, and especially those people that don't have customers, right? They actually don't like calling a citizen a customer, because to an extent, the citizen is not paying for the service. Well, indirectly maybe with tax, but they're receiving a service. Okay. So we need some adjustments to our terminology. Okay, so let me talk to you a little bit about the retail environment. Caro, I know this is an area that you've spent lots of time in, and it's actually quite interesting. So one of the comments was, in our experience, retailers that invest in customer data and implement use cases can expect a 3 to 5% increase in contribution margins after reductions for initial investments and data acquisition costs. Okay, so basically they're saying our costs are setting up the platform and acquiring the data. Okay, so that's what they're talking about, is that initial, and don't underestimate your platform costs and your technologies and the acquisition. So as an example, Kara, maybe if I can ask you, what sort of acquisition costs are in the retail environment? Because just to share with you, a lot of them get their data from point of sale and probably loyalty programs. So what acquisition costs do you believe there are for data in the retail environment?
You're putting me in the spot here. So the acquisition costs, let me think now. I guess it's actually it's somehow convincing your customers to want to provide their details.
Right. So there's certainly the
costs.
marketing, a sort of marketing effort that
your loyalty stuff.
and what you're trying to do is build trust so that your customers are going to give you more and more data. So there's that drive on that. Yes.
And then you mentioned the point of sale devices as well. So you're looking at point of sale devices that can capture detailed information on the stock items that are being sold.
Yep.
I think what else?
The one that's really growing at the moment is what we call almost market analysis companies. And I'm trying to remember the name. I actually worked with a retail market analysis company where they give you basket spends. They're working at an industry level, so they're giving you trends across all the retailers. I don't know if you've seen any of that data. Now, that data doesn't come free. There's quite a bit of spend that you need to get in to compare yourself to other people, and benchmarking and that in the retail environment. Okay, all right. So this is quite a nice paper that I got, the ROI of customer data in retail. Now, when I was doing this, I actually realized that, it's not just the retail, it's even for people like us that are helping people do their certifications and things like that. This customer data is quite powerful in what needs to be done. Okay, so these are the types of customer data. Now, Caro, you can see that the demographic data and the behavioral data, a lot of this comes from external parties that are focusing on retailing at an industry level, if that makes sense. So you can see the acquisition on that is a lot of it's coming from here. Of course, there's stuff coming from within your own platform, but you're trying to also understand across the market. So who else is performing and what's happening to the people around all the different areas. Okay, personal data tends to be the data that you collect within your own programs, and when you register the people with loyalty programs and online trading, you're picking up those types of data. So those are the important data. Please remember there's PII issues around this. And certainly what you do when you go to demographic data is you're now removing the individual and you're looking at the demographics of the people, not just within your company, but within the country, around the world. Where are you in that regard? Okay, so here is the different areas of data collection. Now, one of the important things that I recognize when going through this is that notice that the point of sale has got the least amount of information. Then you go on to customer service. So now you're talking to your customers over the online app or complaints. Now you're getting a lot more data about their behavior than you would get in point of sale. And I'm sure if you think about it, if I have a cash point of sale where someone comes in and just pays me cash and I don't know anything about who the customer is, I'm getting even less data. So if we look at cash point of sale, yes, I can do a basket analysis of what the person bought, but I'm not really understanding the customer data. Then we get market research data, which is giving me quite a bit more information around the individuals. Market research, there's aggregated data, consumer trend data, so that's consumer analysis, usually conducted by providers. And these are some of the big providers that are out there, GfK and Nielsen. They include various cuts on demographic data. And I remember one of my daughter's friends that left AB InBev, and she went to Nielsen, and she showed me one of the day on all of the Power BI reports and the reports that they provide retailers on who's spending what, Pick and Pay or Checkers or Woolworths, who's got the basket and who's got the main, who's got the most increases with respect to prices. They look at that for us. And then we've got digital channels, and this is all the required data, and you're collecting it. They're collecting it via cookies. When we go into the Woolworths or Walmart or whatever it is, e-commerce website, digital newsletters, and applications. So, of course, if we're ordering food, there's a whole lot of data that comes from that in terms of customer behavior. Okay, so that's how we can collect data. We have to collect data through all the different channels, but as you can see, the importance or the amount of data that's collecting is increasing. Kara, does that make sense? Is that something that from your retail experience, is that something that you can recognize?
Yeah, thanks, Howard.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so now in terms of the data platform, this is one of the important things that they're all talking about. Is almost what you're having to do is when you're trying to collect all of this data, you're trying to get this customer data platform to improve the customer experience. Okay, and the important things about this is customer resolution. So if you can just think about, let's say you've got Salesforce and you've got True. You've got different marketing channels like you've got Facebook or LinkedIn or those different areas. Now you've got different IDs across these different channels and you're wanting to bring it all together. So Paul, I'm sure you can recognize, for example, if you've got the Bitrix on the one side, you've got LinkedIn, you've got Facebook, you've got Meetup, you've got all these different things. Now, how do I bring it all together? And are these customers the same customers? Now, I don't know if any of you were listening yesterday to someone who's Richer, and they've built what's called an anti-money laundering customer mapping. Okay, and one of the important aspects that he raised was these days with money laundering, we have to be careful as businesses that the people we are doing business with are not part of a naughty boy list. So they've been banned around the world. He used this example of Osama bin Laden. You know, if we are doing business with the wrong people and we're not aware of it, then all of a sudden we could be in trouble, and we don't really recognize that. And the next minute we've got some challenges. Okay, so the thing that is built is especially for professional services. If you want to quickly log on and do an investigation, is this person registered anywhere across any of the regulators that they are not to be dealt with and not to do business with? Okay, then we've got identity management. So how do we keep this identity across all the different channels? And then data activation. Okay, so as the people are looking to buy, we need to understand how do we bring in our personalized experience of what the people need, what they're looking for, what are their preferences to look at the shopping and improve that shopping. That's what a customer data platform is there to do. Okay, so some of the benefits, trust-based and first-party data assets. So this is consent, dealing with consent, data buyer, the volunteers and the signals that you're getting in other ways. Single source of the truth. That was what we referred to in the previous slide as customer resolution, entity resolution, single source of the truth. Go beyond marketing. Okay, so it's not just about what they call a spray and pray digital marketing approach, where you print a whole lot of glossies and you send them out and you pray that someone reads them and gets interested in your glossy. Okay, supercharge your analytics in terms of understanding the person. So because you understand the persona and the detail of the person, you can make your analytics a lot better. And then this cookieless future. Okay, so they're pushing, all of the people are being pushed not to have any cookies and not to bring cookies in. That's where we're going. That's where the websites are going. Okay, so here are the different use cases. Okay, so once again, if you have a retail data management office and you're wanting to create a value proposition or to become value driven, one of the first things that you're going to have to do is to convince your business, what sort of use cases are there? Where can we benefit from it? This is so important when you want to do a use case initiative that you spend time showing them how they can do it. So here are some of the use cases. Okay, activation use cases. Anything that touches the customer. And this is from acquisition to onboarding, upselling and service. These are the different things. And your data platform has to bring this all together and make sure that they're dealing with the golden source or the golden record. Finding customer data lookalikes. We talk about this in terms of personas. How do we do the prediction on persona behavior? We can't do prediction on everybody's behavior, but we can do it at a persona level. Improving marketing performance, marketing and advertising. So if your advertising and marketing is a big spend and everything's on spray and pray, well, you're not going to get there's a lot of benefits that you can get about improving that performance. One-to-one marketing automation. So how do we talk to people as individuals? How do we target them? Higher quality customer service. And so here is just some examples: ad suppression, personalization. How do we treat them? How do we understand who they are, what their preferences are, and how do we interact with them? Insights, website interaction. Where do we collect these insights? Where do we get these trends? Okay, big trends with individual insights to create customer-centric insights. And then compliance. I spoke about compliance, anti-money laundering, data privacy. These are the use cases that your platform needs to take care of. Okay, so you have to be careful now, especially if you've been marketing to somebody on the one channel and they come back and say, please never ever send me another advert, another thing again. I don't want to hear from you. And next minute, your other channel, your Facebook channel, targets them and they get even more frustrated. Okay, so how do we bring all of this data together? All right, so a readiness assessment. Okay, so how do we assess the need that we need a platform? And again, please, this is for retailing. Okay, how do we do a readiness self-check, which we equate to a maturity assessment? Do you know what you want to do with your data? Is your data committed to breaking down silos? If I've got lots of silos and people aren't interested in changing it, I've got a problem building a sort of master data solution. Then which solution to choose? How do we build a technology reference architecture? How do we bring in the technology requirements to be able to build that architecture before we go out and buy one? We got to be careful, and then also fit for purpose. What we do sometimes is we buy a product and then we customize it to suit our own needs, but whose needs are they? Are they simplifying it for your customer? Or are they simplifying it for your business? Or are they simplifying it for the technical people? Who are we improving and making the changes for? Okay, so these are the three use cases that they focus on. Customer engagement, you've heard quite a bit about that. Marketing excellence and operations. So this is internal operation. Okay, and now what you can see here is these are almost a sort of sizing of the benefits that you can get. Notice on operations, I seem to be picking up a lot more benefit in terms of marketing excellence. And so these are some of the value generation mechanisms that you can look at. Okay, now to go through that, this is customer engagement. Here we are talking about segmentation, and that is closely related to your loyalty programs. Okay, typically I will, before I set up a loyalty program, I need to get the segmentation right. Who do I base it on? What are the personas? And how do I put this forward? Targeted offerings, personalized experiences, improved engagements. Okay, so how do we personalize that to our customers? Don't sell them what they already have, sell them what they need and what they would like to have based on their persona. Okay, loyalty programs, rewards, encourage repeat business, differentiating vehicle to be able to track and understand the behavior. Okay, and then self-enforcement. So we must do this on a more continuous basis to enrich our insights, and then existing program improvements. So how do we keep on improving the customer program and the platform that they have? Okay, so what are the benefits? Okay, so revenue, if we increase the engagement and we get more customers on, we've got a higher share of their wallet. That's typically your cross-sell and your upsell. New customers, and there's estimates of 10 to 20% of a margin uplift that you get through this thing. Now, I'm sure you're all aware of it. If you can increase the customer lifetime and the customer retention rate, it's better than paying the cost for new customers, the acquisition costs. These ones are high compared to looking after your customers. And then your higher basket size, that's improving the basket, the number of elements in your basket, and the shopping frequency, how often do they come back for more information. Okay, now what's turning out to be quite an amazing value generator for things like Walmart, what they are doing is they are sharing anonymized data, access to insights and dashboard across their platform, and they're sharing that, take a guess to who? They're sharing it to their suppliers of product. Okay, so they're basically saying, please, you need to understand what our customers are buying and what they want. And so they are selling some of these insights to the suppliers of their data. And they then build a marketplace. And there's an example called Mobility Data Space. It's companies like BMW that are looking for more data to give their customers. And so they will need more location information. And so how do we get public and private stakeholders to be involved in something like this? Okay, so Walmart's Luminators is driving tremendous value back. And look at this, they're seeing payback periods of 2 to 3 years. Okay, and to have full recurring effects, to have everything paid off as this 5 to 7 year platform that they're talking about. Okay, marketing excellence. This is the marketing use case. So what we're trying to say is, how do you justify it? How do you justify improving your marketing? Well, we've now got higher degree of relevancy in terms of individual preference and buying history, using insights to create commission-based profits. Okay, so partnering advertising. This is the Walmart thing. Not only is it showing the partners what their products are selling, but it's also allowing the partners to advertise on their system. Okay, so now we're getting a little bit like Google and things like that, where they are coming to advertise on our platform. And because our platform's geared towards the selling of their products, there's a better feedback that they're getting on that situation. And then they also talk about this concept of retail media. So the suppliers are using the retailer's platform to place branded content. Okay, not this what they refer to as spray and pray for the suppliers. They are now getting more focused on that. And there's another metric that they're using that's appropriate to marketing excellence. They call it ROAS, return on advertising spend. So all the spend on your different channels, how are we getting benefit out of that? Okay. Okay, operations. So insights to the entire value chain. And this is interesting. It's basically from procurement to assortment, stock outs, overstocking. How do we deal with that in terms of our inventory and the assortment? Pricing optimization, better pricing strategies, cross-selling, and customer service. So personalized customer service, tailored recommendations, and issue resolution. Okay, so can you see, before you even go into your use case ideation, hopefully you've done some of this awareness with your executives to say, this is what's possible. This is what other people are doing. Showing them the Walmart Illuminate website, giving them some examples of what's happening and the benefits that they're getting. All right. And then what we're seeing there, okay, so those are the different use cases. Are there any questions on that retail use case scenario? Paul, are you seeing some of the relationships to us in terms of the different customer data platforms and getting all of this data? So it's not just retail. I think there's professional services as well in this whole scenario.
Yeah, I think the key word was just marketing, and the message to the persona or the message to the customer is the key that I was picking up.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool examples, but I was just, as you said, I was thinking about our business and yeah, the hope and pray. Smile. Sometimes you're desperate. You just like hope and pray, send it out. But no, it's no, thanks, Howard. Lots
Okay.
of food for thought. I'm making some notes for my internal team here to
Fantastic.
revise some of the little messages that we're sending.
Cool. Okay, so some of the war stories. Now, this is where we're saying you have to be careful, all right? And if you remember, we spoke about principles of the path. Who remembers that principle of the path? And what we are basically saying is that a lot of the times the company either starts with high value focus, high business value. It's all about making money. And in some cases, that's what you have to do. When you're starting out or you start up, please, high value or business value is going to be critical to you at that point in time. But then we get into very high regulation, and then it's all about data management focus. So what we're saying is that we have to find this lose-lose environment, okay, where we lose some of the revenue and we lose some of the compliance to be able to get to some agreement so that we can start building that process. Now, that's an article, that's something that I shared with you in the first week. But please, it's about introducing data value, becoming data value driven before you are mandated to do that. Okay, so I'm going to share with you these things. Initially, we don't think through some of the enablement challenges. These are the pitfalls. So we're all about chasing business value, going after the money, not so we're looking at the commercial feasibility rather than the technical feasibility. A feasibility study, please, is not just about the money I'm going to make. It's also about whether I'm technically capable or competent to be able to do the job. Okay. Then the lack of feasibility study for the strategy. So, and then the multiple strategies that you're working on. So let me give you some examples of this enablement challenge. Okay, the strategy was built on priorities aimed at efficiency improvements. So it's internal processes. It laid out all of the required skills and tech, but ignored the state of the data assets. So it was all, let's go and do analytics. Let's go and make lots of money and all sorts of stuff. But the data didn't have the right quality to support the analytics. Okay, the messages, the important messages is analytics is not the only critical success factor. If you have bad data or insufficient data, then it doesn't matter how good your analytics is. Okay. And then what they said is targeted data management and governance capabilities were excluded. Okay, they just said, no, let's not worry about that. We'll treat those as standard IT data management tasks. And what happened was it ended in lots of different technical debt and general backlog that they suffered with for several months. Okay. So what were the challenges from excluding data governance? Time and efficiency losses. So here they actually suffered from when they were building the data analytics platform, they didn't have ownership. So if they didn't have data, they had problems sharing the data. They weren't getting the data that they needed. And there we had challenges that we had. And of course, this delayed the development of the data product. So it got caught and bogged down in politics. And why? Because your data governance wasn't behind it to actually help you get through on those situations. Another one, data quality. Okay, this puts the solutions at risk. People say, I don't trust that forecast. I don't know where you're getting it from. Inability to scale, lack of legal frameworks, missing privacy and ethical impact assessments. These are some of the things that get excluded when you just chase business value. You can get into trouble there. All right. Then the next one was a feasibility study for strategy and transformation. So what happened was that this was their strategy focus. The focus of the data management office was all about getting ownership, improving data quality, modern data platform. That was the main perspective. What they didn't take into consideration was how did they cost justify it to the business? There was no data use case and monetization perspective. So at the end of the day, this thing failed because the business felt, yeah, you're looking at all of this stuff and it's great for you and your IT department, but I don't see the benefit of what I'm getting and what you're doing. Okay. And then multiple strategies with no alignment. So one company actually authorized, and I've seen this happen, one company said, okay, let's go and get a digital transformation where we're just going to look at AI, and then let's have another data strategy that's just about data management and IT. First of all, I say to you that probably the data strategy is not a data strategy, and it's more of a data management strategy. So it's focused on building a data warehouse, building a data catalog, creating the right data platforms like data lakes and things like that. And then they went and had an AI strategy that was just focused on data-driven products. But the challenge they found with these two different strategies, what they had, all their prioritization was different. So they had different data domains. So when the AI was looking for data that should have been cataloged and in the data platforms, well, that wasn't a priority of the data strategy. So these two different strategies went in different tangents. Please don't underestimate how often that is happening at the moment. Okay, we do this so often, we don't show them how to align the different strategies, and we get into trouble. Okay, so what are our takeaways? First of all, analytics without proper data management capabilities. You're building a house on weak and unstable foundations, and there's this saying that we should keep on repeating. We need to make sure our data is trustworthy and truthful before we start looking for meaning and looking for insights. Technical foundation building, is not a coherent business rationale and case for investment. Okay. So if all we're doing is looking to improve our data management, we're going to get into trouble. All right, strategies must be synchronized. So when you're scaling up, and please, it's not just digital, data, IT, cybersecurity, all of these need to be looking at that. And what we need to be doing is aligning with the business objectives. If everyone is forced to align with the business objectives, we get better alignment. Now, I also provide something which is called a strategic alignment model maturity assessment. So you can look at your alignments between your different strategies, and that's helpful to introduce some way of doing it. Okay, so in summary on all of this thing, what do we do? How do we get the sound foundations? First of all, identify your way to play. Okay, what is the choice of our implementation framework? Is it EDM Council? Is it DVD Way? Is it Gartner Eve? Is it Bill Scamoza's Think Like a Data Scientist? Is it Lauren Pratt's Decision Scientist? Which one is the right approach? Okay, then please look at aligning your life cycle strategy across the organization. So when you're collecting the data, what data do we need? What is the best place to get rid of it from? Sorry, not rid of it. And I remember talking to someone that had a completely federated model. And what had happened was that they actually all developed their own data lakes. Now they couldn't share data between the data lakes. And so their data catalogs were basically federated, and no one can really look at the sharing of the data across the whole business. Okay, find the right stories. What should you be talking to your customers about? Why should they share the data? What is in it for them? Okay, and then building a data-driven mindset across the organization and external stakeholders. This is becoming more and more important, and I'm going to touch a little bit on that just now. Okay, so this is where we talk about what does the CDO have to do? And I use two phrases. The first one is getting a ticket to the table. How do you become a part of setting the business strategy? How do we get data into business strategy? And then once you've got that, is how do you cement a seat at the top of the table? So yes, you may have a CDO, and I've seen people appoint CDOs, but it's in title only. They're not an executive. They're not creating the business strategy. It's just the title. That's the role that they've got, and that's what the people are playing, but they're not actually part of that high-level area. Okay. Now, they do say that the presence of a CDO is correlated with stronger performance than that achieved by an organization without a dedicated executive level data role. So they are seeing value in that. Here are some of the statistics across the different companies. In total companies, this is 21 compared to 22. The yellow is 22. And some observations. Europe, typically higher proportionality. and they believe this is focused and based on regulation. So it's reintroducing that compliance or that data management to it. Okay, North America remains the leader in CDO skills, capabilities, and experience. Okay, then this interesting in South America and Latin America, they've gone backwards. So people are, that's that tenure that we're talking about. That CDO is not developing in those first 100 days, is not showing value, but it's nice to see the development in Middle East and Africa. That was nice. I was actually surprised that they were sitting higher than Asia. I was quite surprised at those statistics. So here are the next ones in terms of by industry. Of course, high regulated industries saw the most appointments. There we can see the banks and insurance. Can you see the high level? But household, retailing, food, can you see the food and industry and automobiles is the biggest growth. So what the drive there is that generation of more revenue. That's what they believe the reason for those areas seeing the highest growth. Okay, number of employees, again, it's still mostly driven by the largest companies, but it's good to see the increase across all of the different sizes of companies and the mid-sized people. These are executives, helping the executives drive business growth. Okay. All right, so what makes the CDO successful? Now, sole data strategy and accountability. There should not be multiples. Okay, you go and split it across the CDO and the IT. Digital transformation. These two things are competing. I know Paul and I, when we went to work on Saudi for a long time, what happened was there's this whole digital transformation and data regulation and who's going where, who should be doing what. In the end of the day, what we did was we actually combined the department to try to get them to work together, but then to make sure that the digital transformation made use of the data strategy. It must transcend organizational and functional silos, departments, and stuff like that. Please be aware of that. You may need to start off in a federated and replicated and get to where they see value. So you can't jump there immediately. It's going to take time, but that's where you're going to get the biggest value. Okay, direct and regular contact with the board. They should be on the board. Now, this is the important one, face of data strategy internally and externally. And this is really an interesting topic that's coming up in the EDM Council discussions and debate, is how many CDOs can actually hold reviews by industry analysts. You know, when if you're on the stock market and the analyst comes, they come and review your strategy and your business, and they have debates with you in terms of what's your vision in terms of where you're going. How many times have you seen a CDO that holds those engagements if they're not if it's not a tech startup like Facebook or things like that? So these CDOs, we have to learn how to deal with external stakeholders, and a lot of times they are the industry analysts. Okay, but there's also vendor interaction and things like that. So the CDO must understand the business and must be able to communicate with the parties that are involved in the ecosystem. Broad level support, and also establishing an open and transparent, this is board level support, not broad level support, sorry, transparent data culture. Okay, so do they have that commitment from the board to be able to achieve this? Okay, so that's almost a summary of what the CDO has to focus on, some of the challenges that you have, and the path that you're facing in growing this within your own organization. Any questions? Questions, comments?
Howard, yeah, just I'll actually put it in the chat, but just a comment from a friendly engagement with a client of ours, CDO client of ours, asking the exact question: as a CDO, why do you believe the 10-year figure is what it is?
Yeah.
And as I was typing, you talked about it. Most companies that have CDOs, the comment was most companies that have CDOs are insurers, banks. That's it.
Yeah.
The logistics, retail, all these things, they don't know that they need this stuff, this strategy, data, alignment necessarily. They just got a lot of them they've got all this data, it's costing them money, and if they could delete it, they would. But the CDO question is, we've got one because we have a regulatory issue, or we're obligated, and that's it. So there's no, maybe I put my telex in the wrong spot there, but there's no value seat for that guy or that lady as a CDO. They don't recognize that value of what they could possibly bring, other than tick box, regulators happy, we've got some stuff happening there, and that's it. Very sad.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen that regulation demands that it is the CDO. They do demand that CDO reports to the CEO, but as you say, they are tick boxing it and saying, okay, we've got it. And I think that's possibly why some of this Middle East and Africa is growing so much in terms of, if I look at the growth, other than Europe, that is quite a telling story.
100%.
Now, it's interesting what we've been approached by CDO IQ. That's Richard Wang from MIT, and they're setting up a CDO conference in June and July. And one of the questions was, well, how many CDOs do we have in Africa, and how many are interested in this debate? And when they initially came out here, they said, oh, but you only got like 100, 150 people. Is that big enough to drive? That's assuming that you get everybody. Is it big enough to is it worth it to set up those type of conferences in the country? So that was an interesting discussion and observation. I was very surprised by these two at the bottom, the reduction in Latin America and South America. I wonder if anyone has a possible comment on that. And then Asian Pacific, I'm seeing this almost as sort of Hong Kong, China, Australia, Japan, New Zealand. That sounds very low. I don't know how you guys. Oh, shucks. Sorry, we've just been attacked by baboons. Sorry about that. Any comments?
I don't know whether to put out the shocked face or the funny.
Whoa. that was quite serious.
Sure.
Anyway, I think we overed that out. So. Alrighty. Any further comments or questions? Yeah, I'd like to actually go and have a look there to see what that's all about. Why are they going backwards? Good question. We do have a few people that attend regularly, and so I'll reach out to them and see if they can provide a comment and some feedback. Well, that's the new customer that we got that starts early. Yes, we'll see what's happening on their side.
100%. Chuck, forgive me, I forgot the lady's name, but she was on the webinar with ladies or women in data. She's from South America.
Yes, that's right. Marita, or
I think it's Marita. Yes, right.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to her as well, and we can maybe set up a. Cool.
Fantastic. Great, guys. Don't know if there's anything that you don't think. Is there anything else you'd like me to share or anything like that? I know we've gone past.
Interesting. Sorry, but maybe a bit of a left field question around some of this, how it is tangled, very friendly tangled today with somebody around the personas. In one of I was just looking at one of your slides where when you're looking at the value proposition, you identify the persona, and that's the journey we've been on, right? So we we have this vision, or we have this metric that matters, is we want to see uplift, if you want to call it uplift in South Africa or globally in data maturity. Okay. Almost like the app with music, listening
Spotify,
minutes,
listening hours.
Spotify, listening hours. We want maturity level and bums on seats to support that. Okay. And we can build the capabilities. And so not the argument, but the discussion was, when we putting together feedback to Exco or to the executive, and you're speaking about persona in that context, the idea was to speak to the executive and what the benefit of doing data management is to the executive.
Right.
And so I understand the perspective, but I was tangling around. No, it's the group of people, the grouping, that derive the benefit of why we exist. In terms of a business. So when we talk about when we talk about our big goal, our big idea of upliftment of data management, knowledge, skills, etc., we talk about who we're going to reach and who we're going to deliver product to. Before we decide on the product, who we're going to reach. And so the journey that I've been on with you is, I remember 3 years ago you explaining the 4 personas: the citizen, the exec, the manager, and the specialist, or the professional. And so that led to, okay, what products do we need to support or to deliver to those personas? And then you have your metrics, and then you have your environment. In this case was data warehouse, or your product environment, where you can deliver on those data products to support the metrics and the views and decision making, right? So I suppose my question is, everything that I've said, maybe stumbling along a little bit, is that the idea around when you're defining personas? Is you're looking at the grouping or the type of, or the persona, the person deriving the value for why this business exists?
So that's a great example, Paul. So if we look at a professional, when we talk about the professional persona, their drive is to build their career, their data career, right? It's about, how do I become the best data professional in the world, or where I want to be? Does that make sense? So we need to talk to them about what gains they get out of doing the studies and things like that. When it comes to an executive, they're more focused on, data literacy and making sure that everybody understands data and everyone is competent. So they need to look at capabilities within a organization. They're not interested in a career, big data career, because they've almost got to their pinnacle, right? Unless they want to become a thought leader or whatever it is, they're not interested in certification. They don't give 2 hoots about certification, other than, are there people capable of delivering the product that needs to be delivered?
Gotcha.
Doing the work that I need them to do.
Yeah.
Then a data manager needs to look at their team. Is their team appropriately skilled, and have a team focus on making sure that they can deliver data quality? So a data quality manager or a data architecture, enterprise architecture, is their team, have they got the right level of competencies? Have they got the right level of different skills that are required, and capabilities that are required? So if you talk to a CDO and you just bang the drum of certification, what are you doing? I mean, how are you helping me? You're missing the fact that he needs high skilled people to execute his data initiatives and get success. He doesn't need certifications. He's not cared about. He doesn't care about that.
So
it's a bad thing to say he doesn't care. But that's a problem, right?
So it's in the folders around Modon work that we did. So that was the way I saw the slide, and I was just studying it. In that, you define the personas of business product development, right?
Yes.
So we've got products for the CDO, or the CDO, yes, the executive, the professional, the manager. But then you've also got products for the internal persona, or is that the wrong terminology? Meaning, Howard Diesel of Modelware Systems gets insights from us, and I'm just sharing what we're doing, guys, on the call. We have a operations tracker where we track all our opportunities right through from the idea of reaching out to Connie to speaking to Connie in terms of LinkedIn and saying we've got this, and then Connie responds and we pull it in and we say this is in progress, and then we get to Connie buying a product and we get to paying for it and we get to scheduling Connie. So we got all these insights. So now all of that data results in a possible data product for Howard as the CEO of Modelware, not necessarily the persona of our client. So do you also categorize Howard as a persona within our data management, value-driven strategy thinking? That's what
so those would be what we refer to as operational improvements. So we would build data initiatives for internal. Now, of course, what you're going to be doing is, you remember that you don't really need a persona, because persona is more about your stakeholders, external stakeholders, and then within your own environment, you would also then look at internal departments. Then you got marketing, sales, and you got initiatives that help each one of them in those different areas. So
because all those initiatives support the ROI of why, in our context, why do we use something called an operations tracker? It costs time, it costs money, it's all these things.
Yes.
And so what's the return on having that, collecting the data, managing it, and then building reports and insights for decision making? So,
right. So one
in terms of ROI talk, it's also a key area, right?
Yeah. So if we look at things like loyalty programs, so for example, if we have a loyal customer, should we be offering them extra services like helping them build a data strategy or reviewing an operating model or things like that? What are the extra rewards that we can give people for doing the training and having that ongoing engagement? So that's sort of what you're looking at in that situation. Yes, we're offering, Connie.
Opportunist Connie, I knew I'd bring it up on purpose. Awesome.
So Paul, there are the different players, and that's where you remember in the value taxonomy, you are going to really structure things like automation, things like efficiency, and things like better insights and stuff like that. They tend to be more of that indirect thing. You've still got to express them in economic value. They're not direct value generators. Now, that's the problem with data monetization, is most people think on the custom and the revenue generation, like we've been talking about now, and not, well, okay, how much does that help me in terms of being more targeted marketing? Okay, targeted offerings. So am I getting that pray and spray or whatever it is? Am I, those type of things?
No,
Open spray, all those type of things that you're looking at. So, and if you remember on Doug Laney's compass, a lot of the times when you put those yellow dots in revenue, don't think it's just revenue. There are other benefits as well. And the same thing with regulation, whereas regulation can drive automation, it can drive all sorts of other benefits, efficiencies and capabilities that you wouldn't get. Of course, there's risk remediation, but you can also get other benefits out of a regulatory thing. We're seeing how regulation is driving CDO skills and stuff like that in Europe. That's what it's doing.
No, got you. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you.
Good question. And that's where the tricky part comes in terms of getting that prioritization. Of course, the business are going to lead towards the value revenue. Data management is going to lead towards the foundation, and how do we now prioritize them to become balanced and in line? I think that's the important thing.
Cool, thank you.
Righty. Great, Paul. Thanks for asking.
Awesome, everyone.
Good discussion. I hope people benefited from it. Not everyone left. Okay. Paul, one of the things that we also had, one of the challenges is people to say, oh, this whole data value driven thing, I like it, but I have to do this, this, and this. So do we really need to go and do ideation, commercial feasibility study? Why don't we just do it? And I'm saying, that's where we get into that tyranny of the urgent, where what we think is important.
Yeah.
We are assigning priority according to urgency and not importance, and that's
Sure.
That's where we're battling.
Yeah, it's very easy you got to lift yourself up, because I just remember the ideation of, not that we didn't do it, but maybe it was more, for me, it was more impactful listening to operational wish lists coming through, and I didn't hear the executive shouting for stuff as much as I heard the operational people. So when you're doing the ideation, maybe that's advice as well, is also, yes, you've got your personas and that, but plot the organization so that you make sure in context, you ask the executive, what is your wish list? Like, what do you wish you could see, Mr. Executive? And then not only
Paul,
operations.
Just to share with you, we did it with the one CEO, and that CEO left and a new CEO came, and they kept on coming to talk to me, and they said, oh, this new CDO, the only thing he really wants to focus on is his dashboard. and that's something that he basically said, all of these initiatives are not talking to my problem.
Yeah.
So he felt left out, and he said, do something about my dashboard. So there's your challenge.
100%. Okay.
Ready?
That's a cool topic, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Awesome.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bye.
Cheers, Dave.